Hey everybody, my name is Jenni Grover and I run a project called Chronic Babe, which is all about crafting an incredible life in spite of chronic illness. And Paul invited me to join y'all today for a Facebook Live. Woo! So I'm just gonna get my stuff ready here, make sure that I can see my own live video so that I can respond to your comments, which is why I'm looking away for a moment, because I'm going to have to answer my comments on a different device. But there I am, so I see that there. So if you're with us live today, I would love to hear your comments and your questions. I just want to open up the floor. I have a few things I want to talk about with you today that I think you might be interested in, that have helped me a lot living with fibromyalgia and a bunch of other chronic conditions for more than 20 years. So I'm going to share a little bit about my experience and what's helped me and what inspires me to really work hard every day to try to be the best, person I can be no matter what, even if I'm a sick chick. And I'm going to share some of that experience with you. So please feel free to chime in the comments. Oh, hey, Samantha. Hello. So I'll be able to see some of your comments and then I'll have to turn over here, excuse me, to answer them. So I just want to let you know, if I'm turning away, it's not because I'm bored. I'm not texting my friends. I am answering your comments over here on this screen. So again, hi, I'm Jenni Grover from Chronic Babe, and I have been living with fibromyalgia. I got diagnosed 20 years ago. So hey, thanks for the thumbs up. And feel free to introduce yourselves if you're on. I see a bunch of people are joining us. So if you're on and you want to say hi, maybe you want to tell us how long you've had fibromyalgia, or just when you were diagnosed or how old you were diagnosed. Anything like that is interesting to me, and probably to each other. And you guys probably know each other pretty well because this is a pretty active community. You guys have a lot of conversation going on. So I'm really honored to join you today. I have a head cold, so I sound a little stuffy, and I'm sorry about that. I don't usually sound so schnotty, but I'm going to do my best for you today. I have tea and cough drops and tissues and water and everything here, so I'll do my best to take care of y'all today. So first, let me explain what it is to be a chronic babe and how I came to do that work. So I started to feel sick when I was 25, and I didn't know what it was, and I had tons of pain and fatigue and all kinds of GI symptoms. So I was running to the bathroom all the time. Hey, Robin. Oh, yeah, I bet you probably did have it. Oh, you admitted it 5 years ago. I see. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to own up to that and accept it. I'll talk a little bit about that too, if you want me to. So I got sick. Hey, from Scotland. Hey, Jillian. Nice. I love that people are introducing themselves. That's great. Please keep doing that if you want to, because I really love to see who's on and how long they've had it. It looks like a bunch of y'all have had it for more than a decade, so you're like old timers like me. So I was feeling really unwell, and before that, I had always been a really athletic, very active person. I was a competitive swimmer, and I was sailor, and I would run track when I was in high school. I mean, I was really, really active. So to go from that at age 25 to just being completely sidelined and not able to do anything at 25, just seemingly overnight. Really, it was about a month-long process where just every day I just got worse and worse and worse. I also lost 30 pounds in that month, so it was I don't know if it was the stress of the illness or the confusion or whatever, but it was I just was destroyed. And it took a while to get my diagnosis. It didn't take that long though, because compared to a lot of people, my diagnosis came faster. Actually, I'd be really curious to know if any of y'all want to share how long it took to get your diagnosis from when you first started getting tested for stuff. Not for how long you think you had it before you got your diagnosis, but how long it took from the first time you talked to a doctor about it to when you were diagnosed. So for me, that was only about a year, which is pretty short compared to a lot of people. So I feel really lucky. that I didn't have to go so much longer without. So Jillian says 4 years. That is a long time. So, I mean, that's more the norm, right? Like, a lot of us know that some people go like 10 years without getting diagnosed. Some people never get diagnosed with it, but they know that they have it when they look at all their symptoms. So it is hard. It is hard to get that diagnosis sometimes, and it is hard to figure out how to change your whole life. I mean, I was completely blindsided by it. Oh, Susan says just months. That's great. Okay, good. Well, I mean, I'm glad I'm not good. Like, yeah, you got fibro. No, like, I'm glad you didn't have to wait so long for diagnosis. Oh, Jillian was handed a leaflet and sent home. Me too. I was handed like a trifold brochure. And this is 20 years ago, right? So I had a 56K dial-up modem and an AOL account. Like, there was nothing. We had nothing online. So all I had was, like, I could subscribe to Arthritis Today magazine. Actually, I don't even know if the magazine existed then yet, but I joined the Arthritis Foundation because that was what they told you to do then. And my doctor told me to take Advil and get ready for a life of pain. That's what she said. And I fired her. Hey, hi, Paul. I see our moderators joining us. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So I was just talking about my diagnosis story, but yeah, I fired that doctor like immediately. I only had to see her one time to know she wasn't for me, because who hands you a trifold brochure, tells you to take Advil and get ready for a life of pain, and sends you home? That was baloney. So I did not stay with her because I can't abide. I can't abide that. I need to be taken better care of. So I'm looking at the screen just to make sure that the picture still looks good for y'all. So that's why I'm looking to the side. Oh, another person was given a leaflet too. That is just bonkers to me. I don't understand it. A lot of times we really get neglected, and I just think that's crazy. I'm just making sure all my comments are coming through. Cool. So yeah, so it took me a few years, and then I've been a writer my whole life, and I've been a Girl Scout my whole life, which is, I'm like the biggest nerd. As you can tell behind me, I'm a quilter too, so this is my home office. I like a lot of color and a lot of stimulation, and these are mini quilts made by friends behind me, and I make stuff. So I mean, I have had to really change my life a lot, but I wanted to show you my real home office, not like some glammed up version of it, because this is real. Like, this is where I work. I see a bunch of comments that have come in. Oh yeah, Sarah Macho says fire that dude. Yeah, it was a woman, actually. Even crazier to me. I feel like a woman would maybe understand more, because so many of us are women who have this. So Samantha asks, how has your social life changed since getting fibro? That is a great question. I say no to things a lot more. So at first I had to start saying no to everything, because that's how disabled I was by it, and I couldn't really participate in almost anything. And then I slowly learned over time how to say maybe, which is a hard thing. A lot of people don't like the unknown. They don't like to equivocate. They don't want to be wishy-washy, or they're afraid they're going to be seen as flaky. The thing is, maybe is an essential word for us chronic babes, for us, those of us that have fibromyalgia and other chronic conditions. It looks like Jillian says you have no social life. Your so-called friends are no longer. I'm sorry. You're going to make new friends. You're going to make new friends. In fact, I have a link for you that I'm going to share with you in a little bit. And I will find that for you and send it and post it, because I think it's really important. So I may have to post it in the comments on this video at the end. So if I can't do it live, come back. So because I did a PDF basically called How to Make Friends. It's 150 ways to make friends, and it's really just a brainstorming exercise for like all these different places you can meet people. Because sometimes people do kind of disappear from your life because they can't handle that unknown. I really think that a lot of us with chronic illness, we're not flaky, we're not bad people, we're not bailing on people, we're living with this incredible burden that we exist with all day, every day. And sometimes that means saying maybe to social events, and sometimes that just means saying no, or saying I will get back to you. And a lot of people don't like that, but I say maybe all the time to people. Cool. So I see a couple more questions that I want to answer. Sarah asks, have you ever ignored a pain thinking it was fibro, but it ended up being something serious? Yes. I had some like abdominal kind of, in my side pain that I thought was like a pulled muscle. And after about 12 hours, I was just like, I thought it was like fibro pain from all that stuff. From pulling the muscle and then aggravated by just having fibro. And it turned out I had a ruptured ovarian cyst. So it was good that I finally went to the hospital because I got some pain care that I really needed. Yes, I'm not a doctor, so that's my disclaimer, but sorry, the light went weird there. But it's important that you talk with your doctors and your healthcare providers of all sorts to get comfortable with how you're going to decide which stuff you take to your healthcare providers and which stuff you're not. And it took me a while to work that out with mine. I had to really find that balance. In fact, I told a story about it. I have a new book out. It's called Chronic Babe 101. I'm pretty excited about it. And there's a story in there actually pretty early in about the 24-hour rule. Oh, Sarah says you're newly diagnosed. Yes, this is a great thing for you. So my doctor, my pain care psychologist, who is a godsend in my life, she taught me the 24-hour rule. And basically the 24-hour rule for me was, if I'm not screaming in pain, if I'm not like bleeding uncontrollably, if I don't have a limb chopped off, whatever, I don't get to call my doctor for 24 hours. Now, that's just for me. It may not work for you, but for me it really helped, because at first I was asking my doctors about every single thing. And my primary care physician eventually was like, you can't call me every day. And it's true. I mean, especially now, this is 20 years ago. Now, I mean, especially with how our healthcare system is right now, right? It's easier to message our doctors, but we may get charged for interacting with our doctors online. So you got to be really thoughtful about that. I like seeing all the conversation here. It's really good. It looks like Misty had it, and she just got diagnosed. And Sam is like saying she doesn't have the energy to put up with, don't think they want to put up with someone who's not got the energy to look gorgeous out and then take out. Yeah. So one thing that I've learned is that not all my friends have to understand my whole experience. So some of my friends really get it, and they're the people who get to hear the lowdown of like everything that I'm going through. So they're the ones that I tell about my meds. They're the ones I tell when I have like a bathroom accident because my GI symptoms are acting up. I mean, I don't tell them all the time, but like, sometimes shit happens. There's certain people who get to hear all the nitty gritty, right? And then there's a lot of my friends that I don't really tell all the nitty gritty. They know I have chronic illness. We don't really talk about it in any more detail. That's fine. And I'm completely cool with that. And so for us in this community, part of getting comfortable with a friend group or like making new friends is deciding, at least at the beginning, how much are you going to share about yourself and how much are you going to require them to understand about you. So some people are really curious and they'll ask you, can you share a website with me or something you like? Some people don't care, and that's okay. Like, not everyone has to care. We need our like tightest circle of people to care, So I talk a lot about having a team, and my team Jenni, has like all these different people on it. It has really, really, really best friends, and it has acquaintances, and it has strangers. Like today I met somebody at the post office because I was mailing a bunch of copies of my book, and she asked me if she could buy one, and she's like, just randomly, this person was like, what are you mailing all that stuff for? And I told her, and she was like, I have chronic illness. And we were like, yeah, woohoo! In the post office, yeah, we're sick, yay! Like, it was kind of weird. I'm sure everyone else was like, what is happening with those ladies? anyway, we have these different levels of friendship, different kinds of relationships that we can ask people for help with. So it's good to remember that like not everyone has to know everything about you. It sucks when people go away, and to everybody who's posting, I see a couple more comments that they've lost friends, and I'm sorry, that really sucks when people disappear. I mean, I've definitely lost friends over it. There's one person who just like stopped talking to me. I don't know exactly what happened, and she never told me, and that's fine. But I kind of speculate it's because I couldn't go on some trips with her. And I couldn't go because I didn't have the money for it, because it's expensive to live with chronic illness. And, you know, I guess my feeling is like if she couldn't handle that I couldn't afford it, or that I wasn't feeling up to it physically, then it's better that we're not friends. Even though I feel sad about it sometimes because I do miss her in a lot of ways, it's like she wasn't a good friend to me. So the bottom line is I'd rather have like a couple of good friends, or one really good friend who gets it and like is happy to talk through everything with me, than have like a handful of friends. So I will find that link and post it for you so that you can see that PDF. I have a how to make friends PDF, and so I will post that in the comments after the video goes live. I will add that at the bottom. And again, I'm sorry for my scratchy voice because I have the worst cold. So thank you for putting up with me. Thanks for the hearts. That's really encouraging. I appreciate that, because this is not what's happening in this throat right now is not good. So we talked a little bit about friendships and relationships and stuff, and I see Sarah jumped on there. Yeah, Sarah, thanks. Like, Sarah's been part of my Chronic Babe community for a while. She is always kind of around, and it's great to have her in that community. And, you know, something that I really believe in is the power of online community. So another thing that I find is that a lot of times I meet people and they're upset because they don't have a lot of friends they can hang out with in person. And I know that it doesn't feel quite the same sometimes with online friends, but some of my online friends are my best friends, like the coolest people I know. And I may never meet them in person, but I hang out with them online all the time, and it makes a big difference. So make sure that when you're thinking about your friends and your special people, don't forget that those friendships are real, even if you don't get to hang out with them in person. It's important to cultivate those relationships. So yeah, so that's one thing about my life with chronic illness and with fibromyalgia. Another thing that I struggle with a lot, that I know a lot of y'all deal with too, is fatigue. Fatigue is such a major player in our lives, and so I've done a lot of work on myself to try to live the best that I can with fatigue. And to the point of that question that came up earlier about have you ever ignored a pain because you thought it was fibro and it turned out to be something more serious? I had fatigue, I don't know, it was a handful of years ago, and I just assumed that it was part of fibromyalgia, so I didn't call my doctor for quite a while about it, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and it was so disabling that I couldn't even like actually get out of bed. I would just kind of slide onto the floor and crawl into the bathroom. Like, that's how bad it was. And it turned out I had a thyroid issue that was like super easily fixed with a pill. So it's really important to not always assume that what's going on with you is fibro, to make sure you're checking in with your healthcare providers about new symptoms or changes in symptoms, because the fatigue thing, as women, a lot of times, I know that it's not just women that are in this group, but mostly women, our voices are really not heard all the time in doctors' offices, which really advocate for ourselves. And sometimes around this fatigue issue, that's super important, because a lot of people who don't feel that fatigue or understand it or know what it means are like, oh yeah, I'm tired too. And you're like, wah, wah. No, you're not. You don't know what fatigue is if you haven't experienced it. So it's really important for us to learn how to advocate for ourselves. Let me talk about that for a second. I saw one comment. Oh, Pam says her vocal cords are paralyzed, so it's hard to have friends. Hey, girl, I completely understand that to some degree. I went through a few months a couple years ago where my vocal cords, I got an infection and I could not speak for quite a while. And it was really hard. So my heart is with you. That is not an easy thing to deal with. I hope that you're building good relationships with people online, because these people are so important. So for example, in the Chronic Babe community, there's a lot of people that I know online that I've known on and off for a while. And I do more than just chat with them in the groups. I make sure that I reach out to them like on a one-to-one basis so we can talk and get to know each other better. So I mean, if there's people in this group or in other groups you're in where you feel like there's potential for a friendship, don't let that slide by. Like, it can be a little scary to be vulnerable and reach out and ask somebody like, hey, do you want to talk more? But that's really important for us. It's a great way for us to take care of ourselves. So I don't want to get too far into this without mentioning that we are going to do a giveaway. And I'm going to post the link right now. So we're going to do a giveaway based on this. Excuse me. Oh, I see you, Elizabeth. Oh, or Ellen, sorry. Ellen, I have almost all that same stuff, just not the diabetes. I'm going to knock wood and hope that I don't get that. But, you know, I'm going to roll with whatever I get because that's how I am. Anyway, I want to say that we are going to do a giveaway to one. We're going to pick somebody at random, somebody who has put in a comment or a question, and you're going to get a free digital copy of my book. So again, my book is called Chronic Babe 101. And if you look for it on Amazon, the Chronic Babe is all one word. In fact, let me just put in, so my main website is just chronicbabe.com. And you can also follow me on Facebook, which is, I think, how Paul Yuri found me for this group, which is great. So I spend a lot of time, oh, Jenny, it's backwards. Oh, I know, it's back. I can't do anything about that. That's how Facebook video works. And it's like I want to turn it upside down or make it right for you guys, but it's going to be backwards. So yeah, just pretend it's not backwards. But yeah, so, you know, part of my work with Chronic Babe and part of how I've dealt with having fibro is learning how to bring service into my life. And that's how I started blogging about it 12 years ago, which seems like a lifetime ago. I started blogging about it, and I met all these other cool people who were doing all kinds of really awesome work online. And I mean, there really weren't that many of us. There were literally only a handful of us that could find each other. But it was really cool to meet all these different people who were doing advocacy work online and really just creating community, right? So that's when I started doing Chronic Babe, and I started blogging, and I started writing articles about sex and relationships and work, and it really got a lot of people excited. And it was, you know, you can tell by the color and my enthusiasm, even though I have a cold, I really like a lot of vibrancy in my life, and I try to inject that into my life even though I'm sick. And so by injecting that into my Chronic Babe project, I feel like it started to reach a lot of people because it's just different, right? Like, we go to these websites all the time, right, that are super depressing, that are just full of, like, they're either forums and they're full of negative commenters, or they're websites and they're full of, like, really boring, dry medical information and pictures of sad ladies, sad, tired ladies. And it's like such a bummer. So I feel like I want to try to be the antidote to that, because that's what I needed when I first got diagnosed, and that's what I need today. I mean, I don't, you know, I often say that's what I needed when I was first diagnosed, but dang, I need that right now. Like, there are days when no matter what I do to take care of myself, there are days when I just feel so dragged down. I see that Sarah is laughing. Yeah, I can't deal with this sad, depressing post. It's so heavy. Yes, it is a drag. It is really hard to cope with those. So there's so many of us. Oh, Diana's laughing too. I know. Everybody's like, this is, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's always a picture of a sad woman, like, you know, and it's, I mean, yeah, some days I look like that, like, minus the makeup, right? Like, some days it's more like ratty t-shirt and pajama bottoms. Like, I definitely feel like that sometimes. But sometimes I don't. So I try to embrace the energy of not feeling that way whenever I can. I try to build a lot of things into my life to help myself feel the best I can every day, One thing I learned from my coach, oh, Susan's laughing too. See, everybody gets this. It's this like, I'm just sad, I have fibromyalgia. It's like, oh, I get it, but I don't want to see it, Oh, Teresa's sitting there in pain right now. My heart is with you. Hey, Nancy. Yeah, there are times where you do feel sad and you do feel bummed out, and that's the time to lean on your support system and talk to your team. I go to therapy. It's extremely helpful for me. I follow a lot of cool bloggers that talk a lot about coping with mental health challenges. I think that sometimes we forget that there's a mental health component to fibromyalgia as well. Just in the fact that you're dealing with a lifelong chronic illness, it's going to impact your mental health. It's going to add stress. It may cause you anxiety. The financial stresses that we deal with may cause you more stress and anxiety and depression. It's very serious. It's something we should take very seriously. Alex says she's 22. You've been dealing with fibro for 13 years. Dang, woman. You got, girl, I'm with you on the anxiety and the PTSD. I'm right there with you. Big hugs. Okay. I totally get it. It sucks. I try my best to be positive too. I'm just a goofy gal. Oh, I'm such a breath of fresh air. Woo! Winning. You know what I forgot? I have pom-poms. I made Chronic Babe pom-poms and I forgot that to bring them. That's okay. You'll just have to deal with me going like this. Just imagine those are pom-poms. So lots of things that I bring into my life to help myself feel better. Like I showed you before, this is my home office. I surround myself with lots of color and lots of vibrancy. I play music in my office all the time. I light candles in here all the time. Spirituality is a big part of my life. I practice Buddhism and I lean heavily on that some days. I've learned a lot of skills from practicing that. Sometimes I take serious measures. Like I have this tattoo on my arm that says, I know it's backwards, so it says, "Peace is every step," which is the name of one of my favorite Buddhist books. And it's a reminder, like I literally needed to have it on my arm permanently because some days I just forget. Like some days depression just pulls you all the way down, right? This tattoo reminds me that every day I have a choice. Like every single step that I'm taking, I have a choice about what I'm going to choose to be. I can choose peace. For me, peace is tied into acceptance. And so I wanted to talk for a minute about acceptance. Ellen says she tries to stay positive. I appreciate that. Teresa says, yes, you need help. Teresa, I hope you have a really good healthcare team. And if you don't feel like you do, I hope that you take advantage of some of the resources out there for finding a good healthcare team. And we can continue to talk about that and more in the comments after this live video. But yeah, don't settle for a bad doctor. I don't know if you were on earlier in the video, but I told everyone I fired my first doctor. I mean, I didn't like say to her, "You're fired." I just didn't go back to her ever. And I told everyone what a jerk she was. Because she was really crummy when I got diagnosed. She was really not, very helpful. Nancy says she's feeling really bad today. Can't seem to get your doctor to help you. Oh, you have other mental health issues too. I'm sorry that's so challenging. I totally get that. I hear you. We deserve better. And I hope that you push and advocate for yourselves. So actually that's two topics I really wanted to talk about. One is self-advocacy. So it's very, very important that we speak up for ourselves, and not just that we speak up with our voices, but with the way that we communicate with our doctors. So one thing I teach my chronic babes in my work is how to be assertive versus being aggressive. Ellen says she's going to start going to therapy. Fantastic. Oh, I love Teresa says she loves her doctor and just figured out what's going on with her. Good. I'm glad to hear it. There's answers for you. You are not alone in this. So speaking up for ourselves is super important. And when we think about assertive language versus aggressive language, Helen says we all deserve better too. Yes, sister. Preach. So we all we have to advocate for ourselves. We have to use our voices. And sometimes when we are really desperate, when we're really in deep pain or deep fatigue or deep financial trouble or all of it, and maybe we have anxiety or depression or PTSD on top of it, or maybe we have other comorbidities, other chronic conditions too. Like I have a handful of other chronic conditions and they all kind of jump on each other, right? When we have that, we can sometimes get aggressive with our healthcare team and other people in our lives because we're frustrated and we're tired and we want to know some answers and we feel like we've lost our lives and we don't know where we're going to go. We don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. Everyone always asks that in interviews, where are you going to be in 5 years? And a lot of us with fibromyalgia and other chronic illnesses, like it's hard for us to imagine what our life is going to be like if we're still sick. That's really, really tough. We feel desperate sometimes. We get angry and we can be really aggressive with people. And it's very, very important for us to learn how to focus on assertive language. So assertive language is like, instead of saying to a doctor, I demand that you figure this out for me, you need to say something more close to, this is so vitally important to me. It is my top priority and we need to work together to find a solution for this. Which can feel kind of frustrating and kind of drawn out, but sometimes you need to position yourself like a team player, so you're a partnership with your doctor. And so when you use language like that, when you use assertive language and you use language that brings people into the conversation and helps people remember that you're part of a team, it helps inspire them to work harder for you. So Ellen says, what types of doctors do you see? So the first time, when I first got diagnosed, I saw a rheumatologist. And so that was good to get that diagnosis confirmed with a rheumatologist. And then beyond that, now I have my primary care physician, I have a pain psychologist, and I have a chronic pain physician. So he is an osteopath. And then I have physical therapy, like I'm currently in physical therapy. I kind of bounce in and out of it, you know, like I'll go for a few weeks for a specific thing that flares up and then it'll go away. So I'll do that. So yeah, those are my main ones. And then I have all my other people, like my dentist, my dermatologist, my lung doc, and, you know, a bunch of people. But the pain psychologist or somebody that helps you with your mental health, and especially if you can get somebody who's tied into the chronic illness scene or the chronic pain scene, is super helpful. A few books that I wanted to mention that I think are really great are, now I'm going to forget the name of it. There's a book called, the biggest one that I think is so great is basically like Manage Your Pain Before It Manages You. Oh, Natasha says she's feeling really lost lately and becoming more frustrated. I'm really sorry. I mean, sometimes, and I know this is easier said than done, I really do, but sometimes that means that it's time to find a new healthcare solution if you can find a different doctor. So as much as you can, I would try to find local organizations, regional organizations that can refer pain psychologists or therapists or refer you to a pain clinic where people are very focused on this. A lot of times big hospitals have a pain clinic. I'm very lucky to live in Chicago where we have the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab. It used to be called the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, and they have a pain care center. And it's not a pill mill. It's not a place where you go and they just like hand you stuff and send you bye-bye. Their belief, and I truly feel like this is part of why I've done so well in spite of fibro, their belief is that we need to be empowered to make decisions for ourselves and find the tools that we need, and that the meds are not as important. I mean, they're part of the equation, but they're not as important as all the other activities that we choose, the exercise we choose to do, the pain care team, building your support system, building your resilience, and working on your mental health when it comes to this stuff. So that's all really important. I see a bunch of comments. I totally get it. I don't usually talk about which meds I take because everybody's different, and what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you. But I will say that I take a prescription medication that is FDA approved for fibromyalgia treatment, and I take a handful of other meds. And I saw somebody earlier asked, how do you get sleep? So the National Sleep Foundation has a really good set of guidelines for sleep hygiene, and I'm going to find that for you right now and post it in here. National Sleep Foundation. I think that's right. Yeah, there's a sleep hygiene. So I'm going to post that link for you because this list has helped me so many times. I've come back to it over and over and over again. So let me put that in the comments for you. That list of sleep hygiene tools has helped me so much. And I basically do all of them. So not all of them, but like almost all of them. I don't eat after a certain time at night, except I have a light snack to take my evening meds because I have to. But I don't drink past a certain time of night. I avoid caffeine after a certain time of day. I wear earplugs. I use all kinds of things to change the temperature. I live in a vintage Chicago apartment, so we don't have like central air or anything, so it's like an air conditioning unit or a space heater or the radiator or the window, and some combo of those helps me. Someone asked to mention the book again. Yeah, it's called Chronic Babe 101, and Chronic Babe is one word, and let me put the link to that in there again. So my husband actually made a website for the book, so here's the link for the website for the book. There's a ton of extra tools at that website that go with the book. So I created 10 kind of motivational videos based on my life. So you get to really see like deep into my life and my house, and my husband, who at the time we filmed was my boyfriend. So just, you know, maybe being a sick chick really pays off. So here, I'll put the Amazon link too, just to make it easy for people. So yeah, so the website for the book has so many resources. That also, I interviewed 11 different experts for the book, a pain psychologist, a sexuality and sensuality expert, a physician who talks about patient relationships, Tony Bernard, who talks beautifully about acceptance and chronic illness. So all those interviews are in Chronic Babe 101 in the book, but there's also, they're also at that website. You can subscribe to them like a podcast and just listen to all the recordings or read the transcripts if you don't want to listen. Hey, Sarah says thanks. She's got to go sort my kids' breakfast out. You must be on the other side of the globe. That's my guess. Or you guys just have an unusual and an atypical schedule. Whatever works. So the other thing I wanted to talk about for a second was acceptance. I touched on it a minute before, but acceptance is such a big part of my life. A lot of people think acceptance is about like kind of giving up, and that's not acceptance. That's like resignation. Like you're just like, huh, okay, I have illness. What I'm talking about is acceptance. Oh, Nancy says it hurts to be touched. You know, Nancy, I have definitely had skin irritations and stuff too that are really bad. And I definitely get sensitive some days to clothes. So I have like a drawer of clothes that have almost no seams in them that are what I put on when things are hurting me the most. And that's been really helpful for me. I hope that helps you, but it's really tough. The skin sensitivity stuff is really difficult. But also, if it's really flaring up and bothering you and you're not sure what to do, talk to your doctor, because it may be something else. So you don't want to ignore it if it could potentially be something else that needs to get treated or could be easily treated. Anyway, acceptance. So sometimes people get irritated when I talk about acceptance because they think that it means just like kind of lying down for it and just being like, okay, I guess you're going to run me over with this fibromyalgia truck. Acceptance is so much more about getting comfortable with the fact that like there is a person in you. I like to picture her as a separate person, but it's like where she's my evil twin almost, my tired twin. And she, oh, your vision's being affected. Angel says her vision is being affected now and you're blurred a lot. Have you talked with your optician about that? I would definitely talk with somebody about that because that's not a thing that I've heard that's very common. And it might be something else. It could be side effect from a medication. It could be something else going on with you. So I'm definitely checking with your healthcare team about that. Anyway, acceptance. So when I talk about acceptance, it's about getting comfortable with that person in you who's sick. And instead of getting angry at her, like hugging her. Like in your heart, hugging her and saying, okay, I see you. It sucks. it's so hard to feel like crap all the time. It's so hard to live with this and struggle with it. I feel you. You're not alone. Sometimes I've stood in the bathroom when I'm really at my lowest and like talked to the mirror and been like, I see you. I see how hard it is. I understand that it's so hard for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to go through this. And sometimes you have to really get into that place of self-compassion and like take care of yourself, because, you know, when we live with this stuff day to day, and especially when it goes on for years and years, sometimes everybody around us forgets. Like, we may act like everything's okay some days, and they forget that we're really challenged like every day. So sometimes it's really good for us to talk to ourselves and remind ourselves, hey, I'm a warrior. I'm a fibro warrior. I'm a pain warrior. I'm not alone in this. I love myself. I didn't ask for this. I'm doing the best I can. So these are all things that I do to help get myself to a place of acceptance, because before, when I first got diagnosed, I was pissed off, and so then I was fighting it all the time, and I was constantly angry and constantly irritated, and it did not help me in any way. All it did was wear me out and exhaust me and make me more mad. It did not help me at all. So coming back to a place of acceptance has removed a lot of that anger. Now, trust me, there are still days I get super angry, but I've also learned ways to cope with that. So working on acceptance and kind of loving that part of yourself that's the sick chick is a big part of, for me, being a chronic babe, being somebody who lives with chronic illness and lives with fibromyalgia. I see Angel saying she's having some eye problems. Judy says she twitches everywhere. Girl, I get those twitches sometimes and they drive me crazy. One day I had an eye twitch for like, actually I shouldn't say one day. One time I had an eye twitch for like 4 days. It just wouldn't stop. But I've definitely had it all over my body. It's very challenging. Nancy says, what kind of insurance do you have? That's not something I usually talk about. I talk about the frustration of insurance. I'll say I have private insurance. I'm very, very lucky that I was able to get married, not because of insurance, but that was a beautiful side effect of getting married, was that I got to be on my husband's insurance, which is private insurance. Previous to that, I had been on my state high-risk pool insurance, and I had also done Obamacare for a couple of years. I'm thankful for all those options. None of them were very good, but I'm thankful that I've had some of them. Oh, Jude says my enthusiasm is awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. I have a bad cold today, so I'm really like, I'm going to take a nap after this. Like a real good nap. But yeah, I have private insurance. I'm very lucky, and I really recognize that I'm very lucky, because I have had other options that were just atrocious. Nancy says that's awesome. I am so thankful. I really am. I was married before and I got divorced, and so I was on Cobra for a while, which was insanely expensive, and then I was on state health insurance, and then I was on Obamacare. So I've kind of run the gamut. I haven't done Medicare or Medicaid yet. Who knows when that'll happen in my life? Who knows? Oh, Angel says, I'm so positive. Thanks. I mean, girl, some days catch me and I'll be like, people, but most days I'm pretty upbeat. I mean, I'm giving y'all a lot of my energy today. Like, you're getting all my spoons for the rest of the day. So I'm not always like, at every moment, but yeah, I am actually pretty upbeat most of the time. Helen says, I can't wear PJs to bed. Girl, I don't wear PJs to bed either, just because I don't want to. But also sometimes they're very binding, Crystal asks, do you get stomach issues and acid reflux? Yes. Nancy says she has it as well. LaCora is asking, do I have experience with Lyrica? I don't like to talk about the specific meds I take because, well, that's not, okay, so Lyrica I'll make an exception for. So since you asked, yes, I'm on Lyrica. It's not for everybody. I want to make that perfectly clear. It is not for everybody. It is definitely for me. A couple of you asked if I had stomach issues. Yes. So I do have acid reflux that has come to my life in the past decade or so. I take meds for that. I modify my diet for that. It's hard because some of the meds I take make me gain weight. And then with weight gain comes more acid reflux because it's pressing on your abdomen. And so there's this balancing act, which is really challenging. Amy says, how do I get my doctor to listen to and understand me? I feel like she doesn't take me seriously and just waves me off. So one thing that I've learned to do is to, when I have a doctor that I feel like isn't hearing me, when I call to schedule my appointment, I have sometimes called and scheduled an appointment that's not for anything that's going on specifically, but is just like we need to catch up because I have a bunch of things going on that I need to work on with you. Some doctors won't do that. And if you have the ability to change doctors, if you have a doctor that won't do that, I always encourage people to look for another doctor to work with. Because if you can't sit down with your physician and talk through the challenges you have, then that is not a good physician for you. And I never want people to stay with someone that's not serving them. A bunch of comments went by that I couldn't, see all of them. Oh, okay, so a question about balance issues. Yes, I do a lot of yoga. And I know that a lot of people talk about yoga like it's going to save you from everything, and that's not true. But oh, you guys are commenting. I can't keep up with all the comments, but so I do yoga every single day. I usually do it twice a day. I heat up my back with a heating pad, and then I do 20 minutes of yoga and stretching, and then I do it again in the evening. And that has become a really big part of how I take care of myself, because over the years I've gotten stronger. I've increased my mobility and my flexibility. And what I've noticed now is that on the rare days, like literally like once or twice a year that I don't do it, I feel way worse. So yoga has become a big part of my daily maintenance. So I have this list of things I call sacred practices that my coach, Jackie Sloan, encouraged me to create a few years ago. And it's a list of essential things that I have to do every single day that I can't skip in order to have the best day possible. So even on big flare-up days, I don't skip morning yoga. Even on my worst flare-up days, that 20-minute routine, it might take me an hour because I might do 5 minutes and then rest for 5 minutes. I put on a favorite movie or TV show or whatever, and I just go for it, and I do it. And and sometimes I make loud noises. Sometimes I'm like groaning, and sometimes I realize that I'm groaning, and then I just start making silly noises just to like lift myself up a little bit. So the yoga is really essential, and that has actually helped me with my balance and the dizzy spells. So I still get dizzy, and my inner ear still goes off sometimes, but I think that practicing yoga has helped me like root myself into the earth more firmly and become more stable in all my activities, and it's been a huge help. More questions. Ellen says, Jenny, do you work full-time? I do not. Well, I do work full-time. I work for myself, but I am... I'm self-employed. I have been for 15 years. And a big part of why I chose to do that was because I knew that I could manage my health better. So I've been a writer my whole life, and I was working a full-time job as a writer, and I left it to become a freelance writer. It is not an easy life. You are not going to make a lot of money as a freelance writer. But I love the work, and mostly now I do Chronic Babe. So I run the website. I have a membership service that I do through Chronic Babe that I'll put a link in here too, that you might be interested in. I call it the Secret Club. It is a monthly subscription service, and it is like a deep dive every month into a specific topic. I haven't announced October's topic yet. I'm going to do that tomorrow, so stay tuned. But that is a way that I support myself. It's not very expensive, and I know some people can't afford it. I do my best to offer scholarships when I can. And then I do some consulting with other nonprofits. So I actually do some work sometimes with the U.S. Pain Foundation. I also volunteer with them. So if you haven't heard of U.S. Pain Foundation, they're amazing. Let me put their link in here too. So U.S. Pain Foundation has been an incredible gift in my life. They offer so much support for those of us who have chronic pain, and pain is such a big part of fibromyalgia. US Pain Foundation has helped me so much. And so the beautiful thing is, like, they also, when they have grants, they can hire me to do writing for them, and I love to do that. So that's the thing, you know, that's how I've managed to still work. But then, like, last year, my insurance company took away my access to my medication, my Lyrica for fibro, and I had like a 4-month flare where I could not work almost at all. Like, I did like maybe half an hour a day, and that was it. What do you do when you have a bad flare? Oh, Nancy says, I'm glad I caught this live. All these things I've been dealing with lately. Wasn't sure it was linked to the fibro, if I was just crazy. No, girl, you're not crazy. You got fibro. There's like a million things that can happen with us. What do you do when you have a bad flare? So that list I was talking about a few minutes ago, the sacred practices, those are the things that I must do every day. So I do yoga, I hydrate. Speaking of which, so I'll take a hydration break. I listen to music, I meditate, I have a green smoothie pretty much every day. I do some kind of cardiovascular exercise every day. I text at least 3 friends every day. So I have a list like this of just essentials. And these, I literally have it posted up. I don't have it in my office, but I have it posted up above my kitchen sink. And in the bathroom, I have it framed in a little cute frame on the counter. Because I need to remember every day that part of being a chronic babe, part of being awesome in spite of fibromyalgia, if I may brag on myself a little bit, is... oh, Nancy loves smoothies too. Yes. Part of being a responsible human being with chronic pain, chronic illness, fibromyalgia is managing myself. So we can ask our doctors to do a lot. We can lean on our support system for all kinds of help. Nancy, thanks. You're pretty cool too. I appreciate that. Join my, community. Come follow me on Facebook so you can hang out with us more. Any of you guys should do that. Amanda says, I used to go to the gym, but it hurts too much now. I understand that. I've gone through phases of like months at a time where I don't go, and I have slowly eased myself back into it. So first, to answer the question about what do I do in a flare, I maximize all those sacred practices. So I add more yoga, I add more hydration, I rearrange my schedule to give myself more clarity and more freedom, which is good. And because I work for myself, I can do that sometimes. I lean on people more. So having that list of essential things that you do every single day that you don't waver from really helps. And don't get overwhelmed. It doesn't have to be like 20 things. I know some people that just have 3 things on that list. I have 8 things. But some people only have 3 or 5. And they can be really small and simple. Like drinking water is not a big thing. Although for some people it's really tough. I like to have cute drinking glasses because it helps me feel cute while I'm hydrating. So Amanda, I want to tell you that when I have gone through phases where I haven't worked out, I have had to make sure that I ease myself back in like the tiniest way. So the last time I did that, I started back at the gym. I went for 5 minutes. And I felt like such a dork, and it was like, I felt almost like embarrassed, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about because you're trying, right? So I eased myself back into it. I did 5 minutes, and then I skipped a day, and then I did 5 minutes, and then I skipped a day, and then the next time I went, I did 6 minutes, and then I skipped a day, and then I went 6 minutes. And so I did that. I eased my way up. I literally added 1 minute like every week. And it took forever, but I don't care because I can work out almost every day now. So it took me like 4 months to get back on it. But so it's not impossible. You should definitely talk with your healthcare team. My physical therapist helped me work on that. My pain specialist helped me come up with a plan for that, encouraged me and explained to me like the benefits of water therapy. So I do a lot of water aerobics and aqua Zumba. I got one of those cute swimming caps, like vintage swimming caps with the plastic flowers all over it, and it just makes me laugh, so it helps me get excited about going to the pool. Okay, let's see. Leanne says, oh, Leanne, I lost your comment. Oh, so many people commenting. Leanne, I think, was asking about, have I had ER experiences? Yes, and sometimes they really suck. So, earlier in the video, somebody asked a question about, have you ever ignored a pain because you thought it was fibro and it turned out to be something else? And I answered yes, and I had like abdominal pain that I thought was like a pulled muscle that was aggravated by fibro, and it turned out I had a burst ovarian cyst. And so when I went to the emergency room that time, it was really hard to get them to take me seriously, but when they finally did, they did the exam and they were like, oh, no wonder you're screaming, you know? And that just taught me a lot about how to advocate for myself. The biggest thing it taught me was to have someone with you who can speak up on your behalf. Because sometimes you're in so much pain or you're struggling so much that you can't say the sentences you need to say for people to take you seriously, and you need somebody to advocate for you. So as much as you can, teach your people, your spouse, your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend, your husband, your best friend, your mom, like whoever that person is who might go with you or might meet you at the ER, educate them about, Leanne says, oh, without eye rolls and being dismissed, yes. So educate them about what you have and the questions to ask when you get to the ER, because you need that advocate. It's super important. So Leanne's saying, I asked how you get acknowledged without eye rolls and being dismissed. So I fire people when they do that. Now in the ER, it's really hard. And I have had ER visits where I was in so much pain, I literally thought I was dying. Like I thought that something super serious was happening and I was dying. And I went to the emergency room and I was there for hours, and all they did was give me Advil. And it sucked. It really sucked. And sometimes in emergency rooms, it's tough because those clinicians are weighing the urgency of seeing somebody whose like arm is cut off versus seeing someone who's in pain. And unfortunately, our healthcare system and our culture does not recognize what can sometimes be the extreme severity of pain. And that is a problem. That's why I'm so active in US Pain Foundation. I put the link in the comments before. Let me put it in again because we've had a lot of comments and I want to make sure that you don't miss it. The US Pain Foundation is really incredible, and they can teach you how to be a better advocate. In fact, sometimes we have events and I will get on stage and teach people some advocacy, self-advocacy skills. Because we have to be able to speak up for ourselves. And some ways we can help ourselves is to like, there's nothing that drives an ER doctor more crazy than you not knowing all your meds. So I keep a list of my meds on my phone. I went to pick up my phone and it's like, that's not a phone, that's my book. I'm talking to my phone. Fibro fog is starting to happen because we've been on almost an hour. Ooh, which means we're gonna finish in a few minutes. So any last questions, jump in. Also, because, and Paul put this in too, but we are going to do a giveaway of my book, an ebook version of it, to one person, a random person who put a comment or question. So if you want to be eligible for that, jump in there. So, and I have a cold if you came on late. That's why I'm sniffling and sound like I have the worst congestion on earth. So nothing drives an ER doctor or nurse more crazy than you not knowing your meds. So we can't not know our meds. So I keep a really detailed list in my phone so that if I have to go to the emergency room, if I can't speak or I don't want to speak or whatever's happening, I mean, sometimes you can't, I can scroll through the phone and hand it to them. I took the extra step with my husband after having to go to the emergency room last year, of putting it into Evernote. So Evernote is, it's a free app that you can put on your phone and on your computer and your iPad, and you can share information with other people. So we made a note that we share. So my husband has access to it too, and he can see my meds list. So if I can't speak and my phone isn't handy, he can gain access to that. And so that's been really helpful. And you can put all other kinds of stuff in there too, the list of all your doctors and a list of previous hospitalizations. Like I have a list of all my immunizations. It's really handy. And that means that he, as my advocate, if I go to the emergency room, he can speak up for me and say, this is what she takes, this is who her doctors are, we need to call her pain specialist or whatever. And that's part of being a chronic babe and like really being strong for yourself. So we can ask for help. We can expect some kind of help from some people, but the best thing we can do is help ourselves. Oh, Angel says, I'm awesome. Thanks, girl. I have heard of low dose naltrexone. I don't know how people use it. Oh, a bunch of comments just went by, but I'm glad you guys like the Evernote. I think if you think that your personality is changing, would you say it's from your fiber or your medication? Well, yeah, medication can change your personality. Like sometimes I have to take prednisone for inflammation. That's related to something else to asthma. So that's not a fibro thing, but yeah, that changes my personality big time. That makes me into a really insane, angry person if I'm not careful. So, if you think your personality is changing, the best thing you can do is talk to your doctor about it and try to see a pain care psychologist, like somebody who has expertise in that. I love my pain care psychologist. She's been such a help to me in so many ways. She's taught me how to be a better advocate for myself and to look out for ways. I mean, sometimes living with fibromyalgia and all the symptoms you have changes your personality over time, because when you live with that for a really long time, it can really mess with you. It can really be exhausting and depressing and frustrating. And we have to put in that work every day to keep ourselves lifted up. That's part of why I do the work I do. That's why I look to all these other great people online who are doing work like this. Leanne reminds us there's a medical app that EMTs are trained to look for. You know, I can't remember the name of that either. Marianne asks if I take anti-anxiety meds. Yeah, I have done that before when I have like a panic attack or anxiety. Yes, for sure. I'm so glad y'all are loving this. I want to add one more thing just for being on this video. I want to give you guys a gift. I have a PDF I made called 100 Ways to Answer the Question, How Are You? We all get asked all the time, how are you? And it is a really difficult question to answer sometimes. And so I made this PDF that's got 100 potential answers. It's certainly not the end of it, but it's definitely a start of it. It's a good list to start from. Sarah says, thanks, Jenny. So glad I caught this. Yep, Sarah, I'm almost wrapping up. So I'm so glad you were here. Nancy says, I'm looking for a new psychiatrist too. Yeah, or maybe somebody else said that. You guys are like clicking through on the comments so fast. I love it. So check out that free PDF. I really wanted to share that with y'all because it's really hard to figure out how to be our best selves with fibromyalgia and to answer people when someone's like, how are you? And you want to be like, I feel like crap. And you know, sometimes it's not really helpful in a conversation to say, I feel like crap. Sometimes it's good to come up with some other answers. So check out that PDF. It's my gift to you for being here today. I'm really thankful. And one last time, I'll remind everybody that if you were on today and you asked a question or have put in a comment, the moderator is going to do a random drawing and pull one name, and that person's going to get a free ebook version. Sarah's, I'm hanging in there, how are you? That's a really good response to the question, how are you? Oh, Helen, I'm a godsend to thanks, Helen. Thanks, Jones. Angela, maybe Angela Jones. Thank you. I'm so happy I could be here for y'all. I'm with you all the way. I'm so with you. Like, I'm going to go lie down after this because this is like taking all my spoons. One last reminder. This is my book. I just came out a week ago. I'm very excited about it. Hey, Jennifer says she's just joining. Jennifer, the recording will be up on the site in perpetuity. So please come and listen to the whole recording. Susie says, thanks, you're welcome. So happy to be here. Teresa learned a lot today. I'm love to hear that. Check out my book. It's on Amazon. Angela, thank you. It is really packed. It's hard to show you, but it's really cute. My designer did all these cute little details in there. It's got lots of interviews with guest experts. Like my friend Kevin, he's a pharmacist. We did an interview about how to build a relationship with your pharmacist and why that's important. I learned a lot of stuff from him. And the book is just like super cute. We put in lots of little details. There's a huge resources section in the back where I have tons of websites, like all my favorite websites for everything. We have interviews with all these awesome guest experts. Like I should have put bookmarks in here. Like Evian Whitney, who is a sensuality expert. Hubba hubba. It's really great. She's terrific. And I think that she is wonderful. So check out my book. It's on Amazon. And the link to it is here in the comments a few times. Penny says, what do you know about, what do you think of CBD? I think CBD has a lot of potential. A lot of potential. I think it should be legalized. That's what I'm, definitely. Oh, Leanne says the book's definitely going on your birthday list. Sweet. So, and it's available in print and ebook version. So the print version is a little more expensive, but I think it's worth it because it's fun to like hold the book in your hand. But the ebook version is great if you're on a super tight budget, which I know most of us are, myself included. I wanted to make sure that it was available so it's on iBooks. It's on Barnes & Noble for the Nook. And the EPUB version, which is what you get on iBooks, you can use with readers. So if you're sight impaired or blind, you can use the reader for it. And then it's on Amazon Kindle and Amazon Print in a lot of different countries as well. All right. You can hear my voice is starting to go, right? Because I have a cold and I have acid reflux and I have fibromyalgia and I have asthma and I have anxiety and I have depression. It's a total party in here. So I'm going to wrap up and finish. I want to thank the good people at Fibromyalgia Inspiration. That includes Paul and his team for inviting me to do this today. I'm so honored to get to share a moment of time in your community. Y'all have been so great. You've had so many good questions. I've been like, I hope I've answered all of them. I will try to go back and look in the comments. If there's anything big that I didn't answer, I'll try to answer it. Acid reflux sucks. I know, girl, is the worst. I mentioned another PDF that I wrote. Thanks, Teresa. That's so nice. I mentioned another PDF I wrote that was about how to make friends, and I'm going to share that link in the comments too. So you guys get 2 bonus PDFs today because I just feel like it. You're my fibro babes. You're like my sisters and brothers. I mean, I think there's men in here too. I didn't see any male, names, but who knows? Colloidal silver for the cold. I will look into that. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to finish up. Come back and listen to the recording. If you joined us late, you can hear the whole recording and watch the whole recording just in a few minutes. So I'm going to finish. And with that, I hope you guys go out there, make the most of your day, be as well as possible. Mwah.